Have you ever found yourself standing in front of the pantry, eating something right out of the bag, even though you aren't hungry? Those moments have nothing to do with our character and everything to do with a biological trap that has been intentionally set for us. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how that trap works, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how to stop it from working on you. I want you to get control of your life back because it's not just about eating, is it? It's about the brain frog that we have, that we don't understand why. Why can't I think straight? It's about the aches and the inflammation that our body has that make us feel older than we are. It's about looking in the mirror and feeling like a stranger is staring back at you. I know these feelings because I had them. And that was my life for so long. I can barely remember a time that I didn't feel that way. I was stuck in the same exhausting cycle of craving, regret, craving, regret over and over, eating the wrong thing, beating myself up, and not understanding why I keep doing that to myself. For those of you who are new here, I'm Violet. And I made this channel because I wanted to share what I learned about the food system that we're in that's basically designed to keep us fat and sick. I lived the struggle of trying to be healthy for years, to trying to put down junk food for years. And it took me that long before I understood what was really going on. And I'm here to save you time. I want to save you the pain that I went through by talking about what's really causing you to eat the wrong things and not enjoy your life. Please subscribe. So let's talk about why you feel so out of control. The most important thing that I want you to know is that your body is not broken and it's actually functioning perfectly. When you eat the wrong thing, your body does the right. So I want to bring back the analogy of the GPS here because I want to use it to help us to see an important point. If you were trying to drive to an outlet mall in the city that's like next to yours, so not in your city, you'd open your GPS and let's say you type in Walmart outlets and you end up driving, following the directions as presented, you end up at Gucci Mall. Wouldn't you be shocked? And wouldn't you have a huge, huge question mark of like, how the heck did I get here? Wellness Warrior, when you look into the GPS and verify the map and see that I put in Walmart Mall, but the GPS took me to Gucci Mall, and you verify I typed it incorrectly, and you do it again, and it's telling you, nope, you're already here, and you figure out, wow, the map is purposefully taking me to Gucci Mall. Somehow it's been programmed to send me to the more expensive mall. Would you continue or would you ever even blame yourself? No, of course not. You'd probably be pretty pissed. You'd probably be like frustrated. Why did I buy this GPS if it's going to sometimes take me where it feels like taking me rather than taking me where I want to go? You would see that you were set up kind of with the hopes probably that if you drove all that way, you'd shop anyway. Wellness Warrior, I need you to understand that for decades, we've been handed the wrong directions for our body's GPS, and it's been on purpose. The food we eat are the instructions for every step that our body is going to take. And we're trying to get to optimal health oasis. To get there, our GPS needs to be programmed with healthy animal protein and animal fat. I will call that the map to get to us to optimal health oasis. Dr. Fung helped me to understand that the macronutrients we eat actually tell our body what to do.
It all depends on hormones because our whole body runs on hormones. Our body has no calorie receptors, right? There's no cell receptor that says, oh, here's a calorie. This is what I'm going to do. Our body runs on hormones. Those are instructions as to what to do, how much to pump blood, how much body heat to generate. Everything in our body is run on hormones, not calories. So ignoring the hormonal side of things is not a great idea.
So if we have the right map, animal protein and animal fat, right? But what we don't realize, is unknowingly, all those years ago, the food industry, has colluded with a bunch of shady GPS manufacturers to make sure as many people as possible have the carbohydrate and sugar map. Carbohydrate, sugar, two words for the same stuff. That map takes you to chronic disease city. Wellness warrior, you never had a chance to get to optimal health oasis because they keep you lost on the road from day to day. From the day that you started eating solid food, we've been using the carbohydrate map. Think back to your pediatrician. What did they tell you to feed your child? Mine told me to give her baby oatmeal, that's all carbohydrates, and baby banana. That was the second thing I was supposed to give her. That is all carbohydrates. What do we mix it with? Well, some of them say mix it with water. My pediatrician told me to mix it with milk, and she told me I could keep using breast milk, but by this age she can transition to cow's milk. Cow's milk is not the same as human breast milk. Let's be very clear about that, first of all. But second of all, either milk is getting overpowered by the majority of what this is, which is a bunch of carbohydrate. From day one, you were programmed to drive to chronic disease city. Every processed food that you eat from that point moving forward, baby cereal is a processed food, wellness warrior. So are Cheerios and all the other stupidity that we feed our kids, but whatever. Once you start eating these processed foods, you are eating a beautifully scenic replica of the actual amazing views you would have gotten at optimal health oasis. So what I'm saying is, you eat these things, they stimulate your brain, they cause your brain, so the reward center of your brain to light up, and you see this replica of the optimal health oasis that you're trying to get through, and it feels amazing. But here's the catch, wellness warrior. When you try to get out of the car to enjoy this replica, you can't. You step out of the car, poof, it disappears. What's going on? If you're not eating the garbage, it doesn't stay. And we've all lived this. You feel down, you feel sad about something, you grab a processed something, you eat it, the wave of hormones and the dopamine hit, and you feel better, serotonin, and all the things are happening in your body. You feel great for a few minutes. And to keep that going, you would have to go back and eat some more. Are you going to go back and eat some more? Yep. Right. So maybe you grab another something. Maybe you grab one of these, and you just keep going down that rabbit hole, and you eat them and you eat them and you eat them. And eventually your weight's rising, right? And you notice it and you're like, well, this can't be good. So maybe you're going to try. But in order for you to keep it going, I'm going to show you actually, because maybe your weight's rising and you try one of these. These are, the keto versions that help you to lose weight, right? They're lower in carb, they say. Now, you check the packaging, the stuff still vanishes as soon as you step out of the car. And the keto versions don't even taste as good. The bliss point that stimulates the brain and gets us to overeat this stuff, the hyperpalatability of the food so it tastes delicious and gets you to you want to eat this stuff. overpowers our desire for our body to be healthy. But we're being tricked. That's the part about it that is even more, you don't even know you're doing this to yourself. The garbage that you are eating only lasts as long as you are chewing. So you can never get out of the car and enjoy what you're seeing. But you're driving to chronic disease city unwittingly with all this fake happiness in your face. It's a perfectly engineered, scientifically proven strategy to keep you using their faulty map. Now, if somehow you meet somebody like me and I help you to kind of pay attention, look at the map a little more closely. And you look and you realize, you know what? It's doing that not just for this mall. It does it for a lot of places I'm trying to go. It's taking me to wrong places. And you figure out that I got to change this map. And Violet mentioned that there's this other map. So you upload this other version of a healthy animal protein and animal fat map. And as you've loaded it to your GPS system, oh my goodness, all of a sudden, keto flu. Oh my goodness, you're experiencing keto flu and you're starting to freak out a little bit. Please, I need you to stick with me for a second. That's your body shutting down the old map, wiping the hard drive clean, and starting up the new map. If you've ever had to reinstall a computer, you'd see that that's a hard process. You wipe the computer clean, you reinstall everything you have, and then you realize, oh geez, all the updates and the that you have to do, and it could take you hours to get that computer up and running again. Do not be surprised that this absolutely complicated, one of a kind system that you have, that you're trying to run with the food that you're eating, when you change the map, experiences nausea and chills and exhaustion, and you're hungry like crazy, even though you were eating all the protein and animal fat and low glycemic vegetables that you could, because rebooting this system is a really difficult process. And so your body isn't messing up. It's doing all of this stuff on purpose because it needs to shove away the old map and really get this new system installed properly. And hopefully, when you live through that withdrawal, because that's what's happening, by the way, keto flu, food companies want us to think that's what it is. It's not a keto flu. It's withdrawal from the sugar. Think about it. The only thing you did was bring your sugar down from the sugar that you took out of your diet. And you didn't take it all out, by the way. You're still eating carbohydrates if you're doing a keto diet, for example. When you do this reboot, Wellness Warrior, you want to make sure that you never have to do it again. So we're going to keep our new map as up to date and functional as we can. And what you're going to start to notice is that the new map, once it's loaded up and functioning correctly, it gets you to the destination, like destination number one. You program something in and I'm there. And you get your first glimpse of optimal health oasis. And you realize that, hey, my weight stabilized. And perhaps even I start to lose. First time ever in years and years and years. And you're like, this is amazing. I love this. But then you realize that for the past 30, 40, maybe 50 years, the whole world had been blaming you for being fat, telling you to try harder. Why aren't you moving? Why aren't you in the gym every other day like everybody else? You had more than one cookie. You're supposed to have one cookie, just like everybody else. They're blaming you for following the GPS that's been in your body since you began eating solid food. Food that food companies told they're part of this process, right? They tell the doctors to tell us that, these things are simpler and healthier. Food companies need us to blame ourselves, wellness warriors. The point I'm trying to make right now. They need us to be confused because our body is doing the right thing. Our body sees those carbohydrates coming in, the sugar coming in, carbohydrate sugar, right? And our body is on high alert because sugar above 20-ish grams is toxic to the body if you have metabolic disease. It's toxic. It's not just kind of bad. It's not just raising your weight. It's toxic. Your body wants you to be healthy. Before I go forward in this, I want to make sure how do you know if you have metabolic disease? There's a few signs you can look out for. If you're overweight, if you have inflammation, and water retention, counts as inflammation, a sign of inflammation, and a sign of a lot of other more serious things. But we're talking about metabolic issues right now. So if you have water retention, yes. If you're fatigued, if you're constantly tired, even if you get a good night's sleep, or a good night's sleep. I mean, sometimes we have trouble sleeping too if you have metabolic issues. But if you get a lot of sleep and you still wake up tired, if you have muscle weakness, if you have stomach pains, if digestive issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, skin issues like rashes, there's so many things. Dr. Ede also helped me to point out, and she gave me the data that I can now say, anxiety, depression, and many other mental health disorders and issues are linked to metabolic disease. So if you have these issues and you eat high carbohydrate, your body's freaking out because when those carbohydrates come in, what's happening is that it can't just let that sugar stay in your blood system. You could have an even bigger problem than what I just listed could happen, resulting in you being in the hospital. So your body puts the sugar that came in fat storage where it's safe. Wellness where most people in the westernized world, so whether you're living in North America or any other place that has a lot of processed food, have some level of metabolic disease. So when your body tastes sugar coming in, it gets to work, increasing insulin, putting that sugar in fat storage, and a bunch of other processes are just set in motion to keep you safe. My body wants me safe. So toxins, those sugars, they need to get out of my blood. Now, that toxin, after 40 plus years of overconsumption, so that was my story. More than 40 years before I figured any of this out. It was stimulating the reward center of my brain. So it's stimulating the reward center of your brain for however long it took you before you learned this information freely, easily. It had full access to this part of your brain, and it was creating the dependency that we all live. Trying to use willpower to overcome dependency would be like grabbing that steering wheel of your car as tight as you possibly can, pushing your foot on the gas as hard as you possibly can, but still following the GPS directions. You're not going to get to the right destination. You're just going to get to chronic disease city faster and more exhausted than before. And we all know what happens when we're exhausted, right? When you're tired, when you eat more junk. The solution is not to drive harder. The new solution is to set up your new map. So step one, right? What map are you using? I really need you to pause right now, Wellness Warrior, and look at the map you're using. I need you to verify. A lot of times people will tell me that they're doing keto or carnivore, but then when I look at what they're doing on a carnivore diet, they might be still allowing like cheese and dairy into their life to such an extent that the amount of carbohydrates coming in, because lactose is a carbohydrate, the amount of carbohydrates coming in is so high that they're still going past 20 grams of carbs. Sometimes they will allow things like honey to come in. That will allow you to go, because honey is an animal product, right? So I want us to understand that you need to pay attention to that carb count. I'll talk to people doing keto and keto diets, sorry. And again, the same thing will happen. Well, I'm only eating these vegetables, and on the surface, the vegetables are fine. But if you're eating them in large amounts, or if you are not counting when you eat rice or the occasional potato, or then if you don't count everything that you put on your plate and then you end up going over, or if you put enough of the safe things that you go over, you're still can end up in a problem. And the third way that I want to point out that you can end up in a problem was the way that I ended up in a problem, because I was meticulous. My reason for starting healthy keto was to make sure that I healed my inflammation problem. And you know what? It turned out that my body didn't need me to be under 20. It needed me to be under 18. There's so many ways that you can find out that your body is struggling and the metabolic issue that you're living needs to be taken a bit more. So you need to look at what's going on, Wellness Warrior, and once you've taken that really good look, you have to ask yourself, what destination am I driving towards? Right? Is my GPS loaded up with carbohydrate, sugar, or is my GPS loaded up with the healthy animal protein, animal fat, mostly? Like that's the direction that is on. That's it. There's no judgment. There's no guilt. Meat, fish, poultry, eggs are what your body is asking you for. All fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains, carbohydrate are carbohydrates, Wellness Warrior. And you need to keep them in the range that allows your body to do its best, right? If you eat more than what your body can manage, you will struggle. The simple act of awareness is the first step to choosing a new destination. So I want us to do this as a community. Go in the comments and tell me, what is the one wrong direction food that was just messing with you, right? That the food industry sold you as healthy, that when we look at it now, we can see the carb count in there, of course, is contributing to the struggle that I'm having. I want us to expose the faulty maps. It's incredible how when you have the right instructions for your body, right? When the GPS is taking you to optimal health city or optimal health oasis, and it does it every time without fail. You eat, your body is able to use everything that you're eating, and you're not just storing everything into fat storage. The struggle with your health disappears. And I'm not just talking about weight. Everybody wants to weigh the right amount. And I feel like what's frustrating to me is that often we want to weigh the right amount because people can see that. But in the background, if we can weigh a good looking number, like, so if we can be thin but still eat a bunch of garbage, many people do that. And what you don't realize when you do that is that the damage happening inside accelerates. So I want to make sure that I'm really clear about why my body is so quick to put sugar in fat storage is a good thing. I want to make sure I'm clarifying that. Because Wellness Warrior, I know that I've known young people who were not able to put a lot of fat on their body, or this is the conclusion I came to. They were thin, they were thin, they were thin. The entire time they were thin. And yet ended up being sick and in the hospital.
We are such totally unique creatures where we are the only land-based mammals born obese and the only animal who has a brain that is larger than the birth canal, much to mother's chagrin. But that means we have these very big, hungry brains and all of this chubby, adorable baby fat that is just producing ketones like gangbusters. to fuel the brain growth. And if you have a baby that is born premature and lacks sufficient adipose tissue, it is much more likely that they're going to develop neurological disorders. All the more reason to chubby up that baby as quickly as you can.
And only when they're in the hospital do they now know, oh, something was wrong, but their body wasn't showing them anything. And honestly, people who have trouble gaining weight often are the ones that have illness attack them earlier in life, from my observation. You know, it's very, very rare that I see someone who's just slightly overweight who ends up in the hospital at a young age. Flip side of the coin is also true. If your weight gain is very quick and you get to the range of obese, you too might end up in the hospital at a younger age. Different side of the coin. But for those people, for those of us who are trying our best to eat moderation, so we're trying to fight the compulsion in part of our brain and be moderate, when that fight is happening and we are losing and our weight is rising, I'm trying to get you all to see that that's better than the fight. We're losing the fight, but our weight is not rising. All carbohydrates that enter your body are doing something, Wellness Warrior. And as Dr. Fung pointed out, these are the instructions for what your body is trying to accomplish. It's still in there trying to save you from the sugar coming in. The question is, what is it doing with it if it's not putting it in fat storage? And the consensus from Dr. Ekberg and Dr. Nobe, I hope I'm saying his name right, the consensus is it's causing damage to the body. So your car, body, right, sputtering through keto flu to get you to the place where now we're back in ketosis, what our body was meant to be doing, as Dr. Bickman pointed out.
You can take a newborn baby and the baby can breastfeed or bottle feed. And then within an hour, the baby is in a deeper state of ketosis than an adult would be after fasting for for a full day. I mean, that baby will be at 2 millimolar ketones in an hour. And an adult, and for me, if I want to get to 2 million, I got to fast for like 36 hours to get to that point. You know, and I mean, so if there's any natural state, kind of back to our conversation a moment ago, it is clearly that a natural state is a state of ketosis.
Babies are born into ketosis, and they only switch over when we start feeding them the wrong things. So when our body is back to doing what it was meant to be doing, we not only thrive, we get our life back. And that's amazing for us. We should want to have our life back, Wellness Warrior. And I think the best way for you to get your life back is to see that having fun with food is not as fun down the road when my body isn't functioning properly. It's not as fun down the road when I'm in the hospital and I'm fighting with myself about the food I'm eating. The great thing about a ketogenic lifestyle, I stopped fighting with myself about food. I was able to eat my meals, and I loved my meals. I love my meals on keto. I love my meals on carnivore. People are so worried that they're not going to love what they're eating. I loved what I ate on keto. I love what I eat on carnivore. Why? Because first of all, on keto, I spiced my foods in the way that tasted good to me. That made it really easy. On carnivore, currently, I'm eating meat, fish, poultry, eggs with only salt. And you know what? One of the things I've figured out, and I'll share this with you today, wasn't part of my plan, but I'm going to share this with you. I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you go to the mall and you go to the store that sells like bath products. We have a store here called Bath and Body Works. Walking by the store, you smell it from like 3 stores away. And when you pass it 3 stores forward, you smell the store. It's like so intense in smell. So everybody's in there spraying stuff and smelling stuff. Now, when I walked into that store to buy something, that smell would overwhelm me. Oh, I could be in there only for the short amount of time to grab whatever I was trying to get and get out. But people that work in there aren't bothered by the smell. Because if you're in something for long enough, it stops bothering you. It just smells like a smell. But here's something else that I noticed, because my daughter works at that store. When she's home, and like if I'm wearing perfume or there's a smell happening that I can totally smell in the house, yeah, people that work in these places, they're so used to being around so much smell that when they're in subtle smells, they can barely smell it. And we'll notice that for ourselves as well. When you put perfume on yourself, you smell it right away. But as you're in it over the course of the day, you might even forget and not realize, am I wearing perfume? But then someone will come up to you and be like, oh, you smell so nice. They can smell your perfume. You get used to it because you're in it. So why am I telling you this? Well, the same thing happens to your taste buds. When you eat carb-heavy foods all the time, the sugar in these foods means that low sugar foods taste kind of bland. When you're having spicy stuff all the low spiced food tastes kind of bland. That's why hyper palatable foods are the biggest weapon that food companies have against us. They are keeping our mouths trained on sweet, trained on spicy, trained on extreme flavors, so that when we eat anything that's normal tasting, right? A low glycemic vegetable tastes to us. Ugh, why would I eat that? A piece of meat that doesn't have a bunch of spices on it tastes to us. Why would I eat that? But when you take the sugar out and when you take the processed foods out and you are controlling how much spice you put on your stuff, guess what happens, Wellness Warrior? Over time, as your body asks you for more and you give it what it's asking for, all of a sudden you're realizing that, wow, broccoli tastes amazing. Like just like that. Broccoli, like and you're not looking to cover it up with a bunch of spices, which happened to me. And eventually I realized that, wow, chicken with just salt tastes amazing. Just chicken and salt. Who would have thought that that would be a thing? It's a thing. Let your mouth recalibrate and get back to basics. It is possible to get back to basics. So when you have the right map, you're eating the right foods, your body is amazingly happy with what you're eating, the journey becomes smooth. The journey becomes calm. The journey is peaceful. You're able to, with confidence, eat the right things and be happy about it. Eating the right fuel means you have more energy to live your life, to do your activities. I'm so happy that when I go longboarding, I'm not exhausted. When I go climbing, I can climb for hours. I'm so happy that I get to do fun activities with our kids, with my nieces and nephews. And I look forward to doing activities with my grandkids someday, where when my hip was falling apart, I wasn't sure I'd even be able to get on the ground with them. I can do that today with my little niece that I love playing with on the ground, rolling around. When you're eating the right stuff, your internal organs are also running cleanly. The cleaner they run, the less damage is happening, the longer we get to be here, Wellness Warrior. We want to be here long. I need to be here long if I want to see those grandkids. And the most important thing is the check light engine that had you running to the doctor every 2 to 3 times a year. It finally gets to turn off. Let's kick the food industry out of our food world, right? We need to stop them from stealing your money and your health, Wellness Warrior. And we do that by putting down processed garbage and getting back to those wholesome family recipes from way, way back when, right? There are recipes that we had that were just meat focused, right? A little bit of vegetables, a little bit of salad, maybe, the way our grandparents and great grandparents used to eat. Those meat heavy meals were designed for good health. And it might not have been a conscious thought. It was just, this is what we've always done. And there's wisdom in listening to our body. This is what helped our body to feel good. Meat heavy, meat focused meals. That's what helped our body to feel good.